The Westford Business Association first spring meeting, because we're only 6 months old this morning, had the opportunity to host town managers from the town of Chelmsford, town of Westford, and the town administrator from Littleton. It was really interesting to see the partnership that these three communities have and the opportunity that really presents there. Many times folks would look at those three towns as competing with each other. It's actually quite interesting to see how much partnership that there is. Thank you to our hosts, very much appreciated that Enterprise Bank is sponsoring our breakfast this morning. Circle Health is also helping to sponsor our event this morning. And also Juniper and Tracy, where are you? Just, if you would, come up and just explain to us just real quickly. Folks may not be aware of what Juniper does, so if you would just explain to us what goes on in this building.
Certainly. Well, I don't know why you don't know what Juniper does. You should. So welcome, everybody. My name is Tracy Haig. I am site leader here at the New England Innovation Center for Juniper Networks. So what you don't know about Juniper, we are into the business of building routers, switches, and security. Our mission is to help build the biggest networks on the planet, the best networks on the planet. We are the Center for Innovation. And our headquarters is out of Sunnyvale, California, but we have, I'm happy to say, third largest facility here in Westford, which is great. And we're made up of 12 functions with about 674 people thereabout. And we're very excited to be hosting this, especially with us, the large group of people that we have working here are in the Westford, Chelmsford, Littleton area. So that's a little bit about Juniper. I don't know, Steve, do you want to add anything? So welcome, everybody. Now you know who we are, and you can go tell everybody.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and thank you, Steve, for hosting as well. We are very pleased also to be joined by three town managers this morning. Again, you may have seen the notice, but we have, in addition to Jody Ross, the town manager here in Westford, Paul Cohen, who's the town manager of Chelmsford, and also town administrator Keith Bergman from Littleton. We'll have a panel discussion in a little bit that will hopefully answer all the questions that you have about what's going on up and down Route 110 and a few more, maybe bring some additional information to you. And so think about what questions that you might be considering. We'll have a panel discussion at the end. Please enjoy the coffee and the pastries. Again, thank you very much for Enterprise for sponsoring that this morning. I will turn our morning over now to Tom Zupa, the daytime managing editor of the Lowell Sun, who will, again, moderate our panel discussion. Tom Zupa, thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. Everybody hear me? Okay. As Dan said, we'll have three town managers here this morning. I'd like to invite up Keith Bergman, actually the town administrator for Littleton. If you haven't been down along the 110 and 119 corridor lately, there's a lot of big things happening down there, and Paul's going to give us some insight into what's going on and how it happened. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Sound test, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, very good. I'm Keith Bergman, town administrator in Littleton. Littleton is my fifth community in the 34-year career as a municipal manager in Massachusetts, and delighted to get to come back to Juniper. I've been in this room before to talk about transportation issues in our region, and I'm glad to be back. So I thought I would give this talk as a bit of a state of the town address, and my assigned town is Littleton. So the state of Littleton is very strong and stable, and that's just not my opinion. It's Standard & Poor's for our AAA bond rating that we received just about a year ago this time. which found a very strong economy. And in fact, a lot of these things that Standard & Poor's attributes to Littleton, it's attributing to our region in particular. We're in a great spot. So a very strong economy, budgetary flexibility, strong management conditions, and a stable outlook that reflects the economic conditions in this area. So we're very, very pleased to have achieved the AAA rating, and it becomes a standard for what we want to keep in our community. Littleton's town budget is just under $40 million, population of 9,000, 3,400 housing units, of which 12.5% are affordable. So we've met our 10% goal, and it's an important measure for us to stay above 10%. Our mantra is economic development that's consistent with community character. There are many parts of Littleton, as you know, that are rural. There's active farmlands, and that's an important part of the character of Littleton. But we're also the host community, sadly the sole host community for the IBM's largest software campus in North America. And of late, our largest commercial project is the 90-acre development, The Point, which Sam Park and Company is building on 119 at exit 31 off of 495. More about that later. Another big thing about Littleton is that we are a transportation hub, that we have our own commuter rail station on the Fitchburg line, and the reverse commute and the last mile and all of those issues, which are important to this region and to its employers, are very important to Littleton. And even though we do a lot of things in cooperation with our neighbors, we just the way that the districts work in this area, we are not in all of the same districts and regions as our next door neighbor, Westford. That, for example, Littleton is part of the, for a regional planning agency, is part of the 101 community metropolitan area planning council, whose offices are in Boston. And we are right on the outer regions of MAPC nonetheless, but we are part of that large group where currently I'm serving as the vice president of MAPC. On a smaller scale, there are a number of subregions within our regional planning agency. Littleton is part of a 13-town subregion known as MAGIC, the Minuteman Advisory Group on Interlocal Coordination. We do a lot of planning around transportation issues, housing, land use, energy, just whatever planning issues are happening in a particular community. There's a lot of sharing that goes on, and there's a lot of joint efforts that we've taken on regionally. And I'm currently chair of the MAGIC subregion. For regional transit authorities, we are right next door, but we are not in the same region. That Littleton is part of the Montechusett Regional Transit Authority based out of Fitchburg, whereas both Westford and Chelmsford are part of the Lowell RTA. And that frankly creates some dynamics and interesting issues for us to deal with as we look at coordinating our transportation systems. I'm happy to say, though, that the only fixed route service, shuttle service that Littleton gets right now it comes from Lowell. That it's the fixed route that goes as far as Kimball's, comes a few more feet into Littleton, picks up at IBM, and then turns around and goes back. It is our hope, though, that for the future we'll have some an expansion of fixed route services, though. Some things we do together. The Crosstown Connect Transportation Management Association. We've got our booth set up over there. Please take a refrigerator magnet with you before you head home. And what's great about Crosstown Connect is that it's not only the communities but the businesses in the area working together to make smart decisions about transportation in the region. We also are working together in an economic target area that's established by the state. That's Boxborough, Littleton and Westford are joined together in one and do some things, meet regularly to talk about economic issues. We are, Littleton and Westford are also part of the Metro West Partnership, which is a great organization for businesses and municipalities to work together on our common interest of having quality growth and development in the region. It's a great group for dealing with state officials and for advocating for the needs of businesses and economic development. Great group, and I think that our communities have taken maximum advantage of membership. One of the initiatives that happened just a couple of years ago, this was through the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, was the so-called 495 Metro West Development Compact, which identified on the state level their priorities for development and preservation in our region, and that there were a number of priority areas for development that were identified in our communities, and so we've tried to capitalize on that. In Littleton's case, there are a number of state programs, state economic development programs that we have availed ourselves of. Tax increment financing is one of those. The town of Littleton has approved 4 TIF agreements, starting with the property at IBM. Back in 2006, town meeting approved that, and then in 2007, IBM made its decision to locate to Littleton. We have designated 2 priority development sites, so-called, under the state Chapter 43D. That allows for expedited permitting. You get in, you get out within 6 months, and we have also been able to get MassWorks infrastructure grant funding from the state for our priority development areas, the so-called the former Cisco Systems property where the point development is at exit 31, which joins across 495 with the site for IBM. So there were about just under $2 million worth of state funding for that project, which is now complete, and that went towards the total of $3 million in improvements, which the developer brought to that area. IBM is our single largest employer in Littleton, with the current figure is about 2,200, and as they continue to acquire companies, they have been adding staff at that location. When IBM chose Littleton in 2007, we started engaging with them about what sorts of things would they want to see in their host community. They had their list, and it was hotel, retail, restaurants. And so when there was sort of a lag in the economy towards the end of the last decade, we embarked on a significant planning process for the Littleton Commons section of our community. And we engaged the public about what sorts of things would we want to see in that area that includes the IBM site and includes what's now the Sam Park site. And when we saw the list that our community members wanted and compared it to IBM's list, it was the same list. So IBM's list is now in our zoning bylaw, that the overlay district and the village common zoning area that we adopted has promoted the uses that we're now seeing at the point of retail and restaurants and hotel and so forth. So we had the groundbreaking back in 2012. I think I saw, there's Jim, our CRO, who our state rep, ours, and something else that we share. You should have your own slide here, Jim, as something that our 2 communities share, so appreciate it. And Jim's always there with a shovel and a hat, and we had him back for the ribbon cutting for the first retail store at the Point. Market Basket opened last November. This is from the New England Real Estate Journal. The project of the month for January was the Point in Littleton. and it is reaching its final planning stages. That what's been officially announced thus far is the market basket. There's 5 restaurants listed there. There will be state-of-the-art cinema, O'Neill Cinema. There will be a bowling alley, and just a little close to home for me, there will be a Starbucks. Sorry, I won't be coming to Westford quite as much, but it's been the morning ritual is either Acton or Westford on my way to work in Littleton. So I've been looking for a strong cup of coffee in Littleton for 7.5 years, and I'm about to get it at the Starbucks next to the point. And then there will be a hotel courtyard by Marriott. So you'll be seeing a rollout of a number of these establishments over the course of the next year. That Sam Park and Company is currently in discussion with the town to get 6 liquor licenses for the establishments that are needed there. So we're on a roll, and it's going forward. Another thing that's happening in Littleton, another big project. As I said, we have approved 4 tax increment financing agreements in the past. Our latest one is for the Potpourri Group, which is a state-of-the-art catalog call center and fulfillment center. There is a new 450,000 square foot structure that will be built off of Air Road near the quarry at 3 Distribution Center Circle. There's $49 million being invested to construct and equip the building, which will ultimately house about 350 employees. So we're pleased to see this latest business moving to Littleton. Transportation is another important part of the economic development strategy for Littleton. We're blessed with being on a commuter rail line. We're part of the Fitchburg line, and this is the new station for Littleton that was built by the MBTA and opened in 2013. While the station is located right at the intersection of Route 2 and I-495, it's not easy to get from there. And if it were, we think we could do more with maybe a regional intermodal transportation center. Nothing that $100 million won't solve, but seems unlikely given that $100 million is more in need to just keep the trains running at this point at all. But that's our hope, to see a regional transportation center at some point. There's $227 million worth of capital improvements that have been made on the Fitchburg line in recent years. Those improvements are set to be completed by this January 2016. It involves dual tracking, signal improvements, a number of station improvements as well. All of that will be in place, and we're expecting to see an enhancement in service then. We have opened our new facility our station in Littleton. We had the ribbon cutting a couple of years ago. Hey, that's Jim Arcero again. It was a hot day. Jody was there too, and it was probably, and when I was putting this slide in there, I was thinking, I think it was 100 degrees. It was a hot day, and I can't wait to complain about how hot it is. So, but that was a hot day. And what we've seen already in Littleton is that the service level has increased at Littleton Station. It increased, and then they took it away because of all the snow. But as of yesterday, it's back. That the first reverse commute of the day arrives in Littleton at 8:37 in the morning. That is the first train that leaves Boston and gets to Littleton arrives at 8:37. That is basically the schedule that was implemented last August. That was an hour earlier than what it used to be. Back before the August schedule, it was 9:40 was the earliest you could get from Boston to Littleton. So if you were going to, be working, if you needed to be at work at 9, you were going to be late. And our goal is to ultimately see that to have that schedule be even earlier. We're shooting for 8, for 7:30, whatever. But there's a group called the Fitchburg Line Working Group. All of the legislators and many of the communities up and down the Fitchburg Line have been working closely together over the years to get capital improvements in place. Our next measure of success will be to get operating improvements in place. Sadly, the world has changed since last fall. My biggest ask from the MBTA was I just simply wanted them to issue a press release to announce that the new schedule was in place. They haven't yet done that. But lately, we just settled to have the train show up at the appointed hour. But we're working closely with our fellow communities to try to figure out what to do. One of our goals at some point would be to be linking the Littleton commuter rail station by shuttle with other employment centers. These are just working drafts that the Montechusett folks have given us as a starting point. But the idea of having some kind of fixed route service that links Littleton with Devons or with Boxborough or with Westford is something that we very much want to explore with our neighbors and businesses through Crosstown Connect. Something else I want to talk about that Littleton's been working on is we've just updated and approved our housing production plan, which I think very much tries to catch the wave of what we're seeing in the economy, where there's a lot of activity now. After many years of not much happening on the housing market, that it's taking off. And for Littleton, our goal is to become and remain master of our 40B destiny, and to do that by first achieving our 10% goal and then remaining above it by being proactive. As I say, we're currently at 12.5%. It was sort of a rocky ride to get us there. We were below, then above, then fell below, and now we're back above. And the main way that we've been able to achieve that the 10% is through a project at 15 Great Road, Littleton. There are 56 ownership units being marketed as Wildflower Meadow and 144 rental units marketed as Village Green. This is a property, it's on the Acton town line. You've got the Avalon Acton, which I know is part of, I don't know why they don't call it the Westford Avalon Acton, since there are part of that community is in Westford. But that at the foot of the hill, for where Avalon Acton is, near Nagog Park, it backs up to this development here. A number of those units are online now, and we are hopeful of staying above 10% for the future. We celebrated our 300th anniversary this year in style, and again, another hot day, and we're looking forward to the future. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Keith. We're going to try to stay on schedule here. Does anybody have a question for the administrator? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Keith. We'll move on to our next town manager, another long-traveled veteran town manager, Paul Cohen from the town of Chelmsford.
Thank you for the Westford Business Association for having me here. We're, as was noted by Keith, we're all part of Jim Arcero's district, so this is recognition of Jim, and really we're really part of the 110 corridor, as was noted earlier today. And as Keith, he did an excellent job sort of setting up the whole discussion and perspective that we're doing as managers today. And I know Jody, when she finishes after me, will clear the table and really answer everything else as well. In terms of what's going on in Chelmsford, and again, it really is the 110 corridor. The biggest development as you come into Chelmsford right now in activity is the former Marshall's Stop and Shop site. We just had the grand opening there for the redevelopment of the site. The Nobo restaurant just came in. They will be opening at the end of this week, and that was preceded by the Choice Fitness, which sort of had the anchor unit, which is where the Marshalls was located. And we believe after Labor Day, there'll be another fine restaurant who's finishing negotiations with one of our member banks, who's a sponsor of this, we understand. But I'm prevented from disclosing it for a couple of weeks, but they will be opening after Labor Day. And it really has brought a tremendous revitalization into Chelmsford Center. We are completing the sidewalk and pedestrian-friendly aspects of the center, and which really was revitalized by the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. And we're excited at the next phase of construction that's scheduled to take off this year. A tremendous asset to the region, and it really is. It links us to Westford, and then over into Acton, and eventually, believe, to Framingham and so forth. A tremendous asset and resource for the community. But coming back into the center, with the revitalization there, we are seeking designation as a cultural district. With our Chelmsford Center for the Arts, the new sign is finally out there. It's recognizing that the use of our restored historic town hall is an art center, and really an anchor of activity into the community. The other activity on 110, as you come towards Westford, is the activity taking place. It was what was known as the Highway Farm Market. It's the Chelmsford Housing Authority's choices housing development in which all of the units are affordable. Just a tremendous resource, and we're blessed as the Chelmsford community and the region of having David Hedison and the Housing Authority continue to be a leader in terms of bringing home opportunities to the residents of the region. We're also just recently had an application for the planning board for a fast food establishment adjacent to that location. And as you know, certainly in Westford, the opening of the Princeton Properties development at the line, it's just amazing to see the transformation that's taking place on the 110 corridor as you come from Chelmsford out to Westford, and certainly as you go into Littleton and so forth. And that really is our big focus, is the whole idea of regional issues, regional assets. I could, and that's really a big focus of what we're trying to do. My economic development Director Evan Belansky is here this morning. We're blessed as a community, and I say this in all sincerity. We have a tremendous leadership in terms of Keith, Jody, the other managers and planners in the region who basically get it. We help businesses what they need to do in terms of getting an answer from the community. We've learned that it doesn't need to be just what they want, but they need an answer in a timely manner. And as Keith noted, it's the whole issue of expedited permitting, providing resources, working with them so that when they go before the board, it's a smooth and efficient process. As I noted, our economic development has also focused on housing. For the first time in anyone's recollection, Chelmsford had 2 consecutive years now of certification for affordable housing. We're up towards the 8% mark, and we clearly can see a path towards 10%. Our certification expires in June, and we know there are a couple projects out there that will bring us to the next year of certification and ultimately the 10%. And what we're seeing, and again, it's just amazing when you see the transformation that's happening in terms of the whole housing market. Right now, as we know, when you see what's happening in Boston in terms of the youth living in the city, and as Keith noted, the reverse commute coming out to places like Littleton and Chelmsford and Westford, that's our big focus. And obviously the new focus on rental units and high-density development. And again, we're seeing that. And obviously the theme with all this is the highway. Let's not kid ourselves. The big focus is what's taking place. If you look at Littleton, the 495 exit, Chelmsford, the 495 exits of ours, and obviously Westford, the whole transformation of the four corners here, that is the 21st century perspective in terms of where people want to locate, and it really is. And our task is to get the workers that last mile, as Keith noted, getting them to places of employment. And as Keith noted, all the regional efforts, the one that we're also a part of in Westford is the Middlesex 3 Coalition, which is providing economic development promotion from the 128 end of Route 3 to the 495 and beyond to really the New Hampshire border of Route 3. And again, providing the resources, And our big thing is a TMI, a Transportation Management Initiative, to get people to the businesses, because that is the key now. We're looking at 5.5% unemployment, and we know what that really means. That really means, in terms of skilled workers, we're near full employment. And so the key is to get the workers to the place, but also we're partnering in that effort with our university, UMass Lowell, Middlesex Community College, and so forth, to get the human resource development to provide that labor force. Because what makes us competitive here in this region is the skills of the people that can show up to work at places such as this, at Juniper here, to provide an effective product that gives us the advantage over other areas. And as I noted earlier, and I'll wrap up, our effort is to work regionally. We don't compete with each other. I don't recall in the 8 years that I've been in Chelmsford that we've ever had a question of, well, was the business going to locate in Chelmsford versus Westford versus Littleton? The choices are more, are they coming to this area, or are they going to, North Carolina, or are they going out to Malden, or are they going, so we really work in a cooperative manner. In fact, the most recent one, and Jody and I kid about it, when we had an issue with Goodrich where they basically had an issue with their location, I worked and we worked and our representatives worked to basically keep them in our area, and fortunately they were able to get a successful location in Westford. So that's what it's all about, is getting the town's perspective, is to provide the resources to enable businesses to work together in a regional basis. And at that, I'll end my remarks, because I know we're tight on time, and I really want to provide ample time for Jody, our host, this morning. So I'll turn it over. Thank you, Jody.
Okay. Thank you. Hold on one second. Does anybody have a question for Paul before he sits down directly? Okay, I'd like to.
Are we out of time?
I'd like to invite up host town manager Jody Ross.
Hi, can you hear me okay? I'm hooked up here. So working for Westford, I'm Jody Ross. I've been here 6.5 years. Every time we make a presentation, I am last, so I have to keep it brief, particularly if I'm after Keith, my good buddy from Littleton. So no, but Paul and I are on we go to speak to the Lowell Chamber of Commerce every year. Well, every year there's different town manager. I think Paul and I are the only two still standing. But I'm always last, so I always have like 1 minute to say everything wonderful about Westford. But thank you for coming to Westford today. I know many of you. I'm delighted to be here with you. And I have a couple of members of our Economic Development Committee, Eli Dimitri and Bill Nussbaum are here. And Chris Kletchman, who's my Director of Land Use Management, who really helped pull this together yesterday. So let's just go through it quickly. I'm basically just going to cover these different topics: our statistics, tax rate, some residential development, commercial, transportation, conservation, maps, economic, and this new program that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to do this in 5 minutes. And I'm sorry, I've been drinking caffeinated coffee. I don't usually do that. I'm a little bit jittery. So let's move on. So here's some statistics. Unfortunately, we don't have anything newer than 2010 on a couple of these. But just to kind of show you what's going on in our town, we're just under 22,000 population, our median home price, and so on. So move on. I don't have a clicker. So here's our tax rate. This is something we're very proud of. We have basically a single tax rate, and as you can see, we're substantially lower than some of our neighboring communities. Sorry for putting this out there, but and in fact, our large businesses offset the smaller businesses. So that's the $1 million plus companies. Next slide. So what do we got going on here? We've had 660 units built and or approved in the last 5 years. Our subsidized housing is 7.8%, so we're struggling to try to maximize that. Princeton Properties is on route. You say route, I say route, right? That's you, even though we're from the same wake up. He's fallen asleep here. So we have 200 apartments, beautiful luxury apartments down there near Chelmsford. Graniteville Woods are detached and attached up off of Route 40. And Abbott Mill is a renovated mill. If you haven't seen it, please go see it down in Forge Village. This is a picture of it here. They renovated into 130 apartments. And then Tabak Meadows and Lawton Farms are a couple other developments. New commercial, we've had a lot of new commercial, and I got here in August of '08. The bottom fell out of everything, but still Westford was fortunate to have development. So 430,000 new square feet built during the last 5 years. 47,000 in review. We have posters over there that give you more examples, but Cornerstone Square, I talked to Robert Walker yesterday. He created 300 jobs for construction of Cornerstone Square and 1,000 new permanent jobs. That's huge for our town. Red Hat, of course, expanded 100,000. I know John's here, and added, I believe, 181 jobs, if that's correct. Bridges at Westford is memory care units. That's on 110. Bach Honda came in. I wasn't too popular for that, but they've done really great things for our excise tax in town, so we've been pleased. And of course, we've had other businesses that have expanded, like Cynosure, 55. We think our new jobs are somewhere around 3,000 over the last 5 years. I don't have that exact figure. Transportation, you know, Keith talked a lot about this. I'll tell you, it was kind of hard getting to work today down Lawson Road. It's where I live on Nab Lake. A couple of my neighbors, TJ and Tom and Jay, the water was about a foot deep around the lake. And then I got behind the school bus, so I don't know. But for bigger picture, Minot's Corner, those of you that know Boston Road and 110, huge intersection reconstruction. We also replaced the water line. We're putting sidewalks down 110. We're hoping to get them down Tadmuck, down Boston Road at some point too. We belong to 2 transportation management associations. Many of you have joined Crosstown Connect. We also just joined Middlesex 3 Coalition, which is the towns along Route 3. And we were asked to join that. They have a TMA too. So if you're located more towards the Route 3 area, you may want to talk to me about that. In design, we have the Tadmuck Road 110 intersection. We're putting lights up at Groton Road and Oak Hill, and Groton Road and Dunstable, where we've had some serious accidents over the years. And then, of course, I mentioned we're redoing Main Street from Depot down to Tadmuck. But we've also bought conservation land because we're not all about just business development. So these are the parcels that we have secured over the last 5 years. Timberlake, we just signed the purchase and sale. Burns Hill is off of Boston Road up in Blake's Hill area, also called Schwab, I believe. And the O'Brien Farm was a conservation restriction off of Vose Hill. So these are lovely areas that have trails, and I would encourage you to also enjoy those. 110 activity, again, I have a map up here. This is also on our website. We're trying to make this interactive, so perhaps in the future we'll have this. But this basically shows you by color what's pre-permitted, what's in review, what's been approved under construction, complete, in conservation land. And then this is a town-wide map, which again, if you look at the color code, and you could probably see it better over here, it just shows you all our residential, commercial that's new, our conservation, major transportation infrastructure, and the concentration of activity along 110, but there is residential development all over town. So economic development initiatives, most of you know that we're kind of here because we kind of got going on that, and with the Economic Development Committee, which I'm also a part of, we became an ETA thanks to Littleton and Boxborough, which, by the way, that day that I was at that train station, it was about 100 degrees. The Boxborough town manager and I were so hot that we actually boarded a train and got out of town and left Keith in the middle of all his introductions. So it was a very hot day. But anyway, so we've offered 2 TIFs, tax increment financing, to Red Hat and also Cynosure. And really those are tied to new jobs through state funding. I mentioned the Middlesex 3 495 partnership did ask us to join too. We are the northernmost town of that planning organization. We're doing an EdSat program right now with economic development, which really means we're collecting data with Barry Bluestone, if any of you have ever heard of him, from the Northeastern, I forget the name of it, but anyway, what it does is it basically compares Westford to all the other towns in Massachusetts, things like tax rate, permitting, you know, those sorts of things, so we can see where we need to improve and where we're doing pretty well. The Economic Development Committee is also holding village meetings. So those of you who live in town, we've already met with Forge Village, and we're talking about what do you want in your village. We have 5 villages here. Do you want you know, a barber shop, a convenience store, a liquor store? What is it you want? And we're going to help hopefully get those businesses there. We did the business and community guide. I don't know if we brought any, but I think most of you've had an opportunity to see that. A permanent guide. 12 North Main, that's called also Westford Anodizing. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The town formed a task force, and we actually are at the town meeting, which is March 28th, going to ask the town to transfer that from the tax possession, well, we're going to foreclose first, and then transfer it from the tax possession sale committee to the selectmen. We're looking to redevelop that. We were approved for a $1.5 million environmental bond, thanks to Jim Arcero in the back, and also Senator Donahue. And we also have applied for, or we are in the process of applying for mass development grants of $100,000 to clean it up or assess it, and $500,000 to rebuild. So we're hoping to renovate that into either multi-use or apartments or something, because it's just been sitting there deteriorating, falling to the ground. So that's really exciting. This is something I wanted to tell you about. As I said, we have a town meeting on March 28th. I am presenting an article to do a community electricity aggregation program. What this really means is that many of you have probably noticed your electric bills have skyrocketed. If you're a resident, you also get these little cards in the mail telling you, join us. Well, the town went out to bid for electricity a couple of months ago, and I secured a rate of 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You can see it went up to 22 cents here. I was not able to offer that to residents or businesses, but if this passes at town meeting, I can go out to bid with our other neighboring communities and secure a low price that all of you can participate in. You can opt out if you'd rather pay high rates, or perhaps you already signed up for one of those other deals that you can't get out of. But if you don't opt out, you will secure the rate that we're able to get. Chelmsford is working on it right now. Lowell already did it, and I'm doing it with the other 7 towns. So collaboratively, we can secure a rate. So companies like Juniper, if you haven't already done that, this is going to be huge for you, because it'll help you in planning, and it'll get you a rate that's much better than you can get on your own. So if you're a resident, please go to town meeting March 28th and vote in favor of this. And I might also mention that tomorrow night the League of Women Voters has a meeting, and we'll discuss all at town meeting at the library at 7 p.m. I won't be there. I'm going to Utah skiing in the morning, but John Mangiarati, my assistant, will be there with a selectman to share that with you. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jody. If we could have the managers up here, we'll take a few group questions, as it were. Actually, I'll start off with a question. It was actually something Jody brought up about the municipal tax rate, how favorable Westford's tax rate is. How important is tax rate for businesses that you're trying to attract? Because you brought up Barry Bluestone, and he seems to think that a high tax rate doesn't really have an impact on bringing in or attracting new businesses.
I think I'm hooked up
You're
still.
hooked up?
Am I? Can you hear me? Well, I guess what I would say is I think there's probably many different considerations that companies make when they choose where to locate. I think tax rate is one of them, and I know when Red Hat was looking at expansion, they were comparing us to North Carolina and California, and tax rate was certainly something that they looked at, but I wouldn't say that's the only deciding factor.
Well, with the highest, is it on? Can you hear? Hello?
Do you want to use my mic?
Test. Yes.
You're
Okay.
good.
Okay. Very good. Well, with the highest tax rate in the room, we have found that in some cases, for example, for the Potpourri Group, for the tax increment financing agreement that we gave, it was because the company, in comparing what they were paying for taxes in Northbridge, which is where they were locating, they were looking to expand to another community. We had a site that was large enough for them. The tax, it was necessary in that case for us to give them a discount on the taxes in order to have them locate in the community. By and large, though, what we're finding is that that the businesses are also looking for the amenities, that they're looking for what, I mean, our competition is the 128 belt, where you've got a lot of built-in amenities. We're seeing more and more along the 495 belt now, whether it's hotels, restaurants, whatever, so that when you get your employees out here, you've got a place for them. You've got a place for them to go at lunch, and for hotels and others to support out of town guests. So it's an important issue. I don't know that it's dispositive, that we're not seeing people, businesses not coming to our community by and large, but we're mindful of that there's an upper limit to the shift that you can make in the property tax towards commercial. It's a big issue for Littleton each year during our classification hearing. But we do split the tax rate, and have done that for a long time.
Paul, you want to answer that? I know,
Yeah.
I know that the tax rate in Chelmsford is always a debated issue.
Yeah, well, it's been a uniform rate for almost a generation now. I would agree. It's not the decisive factor. In terms of a business locating, really it's coming down to, as we say, right now we're hearing the concern is about amenities, and also like businesses in those clusters. I mean, and that's really what you're seeing. You're seeing these clusters of similar businesses, high-tech, defense, and so forth. That's where they're looking to locate. And again, I think the bigger issue right now is transportation, more so than taxes. How do we get our workers to our establishments? I think that's a driving issue, more so than taxes.
Do we have a question out there? Raise your hand. Dan will come around.
Hello, my name's Karen Bergeron with the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, and I was curious about the conservation land. I was wondering, do you all do that, and do you have a certain set price, or is it adjusted with the amount of acreage, how much you pay per acre?
I think the answer on conservation land is being prepared when the opportunity arises. We oftentimes we have a right of first refusal when someone who owns conservation land has taken advantage of the open space tax relief or forestry land or recreation land and so forth. So, and that's really where the Community Preservation Fund has been a tremendous resource to Chelmsford and I think communities across the Commonwealth. So basically the idea is to be prepared when an opportunity arises, and to acquire that. We as you've noted the additions in Westford, we now have 1,000 acres of conservation land in the town of Chelmsford. We've added 2 working farms in the last decade, Sunny Meadow Farm, Sheehan Farm, and we're actually looking at a parcel right now. And it really comes down to price. Unfortunately, the value of developable land almost makes it prohibitive in terms of attractive land. So oftentimes what we get tends to be a little wet, or marginal in terms of its value, because if it comes to paying market rate for a significant parcel, it almost becomes prohibitive for a community. Also, what the big focus is, honestly, is on corridors. We seek to acquire conservation land adjacent to or near other conservation land, so you have a wildlife corridor or just an area of walking trails and a network.
In Littleton, acquiring open space is an important part of what we do. It is very much addresses the community character issues. The green vistas along Route 2A where there are active farmlands, we realize that they won't always be green or in use as farming, so those properties are high on the list of priorities for acquisition by the town. We have adopted the Community Preservation Act. Our surcharge is only 1%. from the property tax, but we have adopted the so-called blended Community Preservation Act, which allows the town to add other revenues into the CPA fund to increase our base for state matching funds. We were the first town in the Commonwealth to do that, and we use mitigation funds from developers as one source of local funds that we'll, for example, for the 15 Great Road project that I showed, we will be getting $815,000 in mitigation funds from the developer. Much of that we already have plans to put in our CPA fund to increase the base for state match, and then to use those funds for community preservation purposes, whether it be open space or historic or housing or recreation. So it's an important part of the mix. We pay, I was going to quote Ernie Bach, we pay cash to keep the financing down, but we would prefer to not have to borrow money, but but when it comes to acquiring open space, you've got to have the resources when the property is available. There would be millions and millions of dollars worth of acquisitions we'd like to make, and we only have a few $1 million that we can devote to it. So it becomes very selective to have a priority list, and as Paul says, be ready to go when the property comes on the market.
The only thing I would add to that is if it's coming out of Chapter 61A, forestry or agricultural, you have to match the purchase and sale that is presented to you, and you have about 120 days to do that. You can only use community preservation funds if it in fact appraises at the amount. So it is complicated, but obviously Westford tries to take advantage of that whenever possible. And we do have our community preservation at 3%. And what else was I going to say? Oh, we have 2,200 acres of conservation land right now. And our conservation resource planner, Bill Turner, many of you know him, has retired. That position's open, so if you know anybody interested, please have them send us a resume.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one more question. In front here. Maybe two more.
So, Tom Grant, a question for Paul. You mentioned accessibility to town, and I know there's been talk of a commuter rail from Nashua to Boston running through Vinyl Square. I wonder, is there any news on that, or what you think the probability of that is of happening?
The probabilities are probably, with the MBTA situation right now, are probably slim. We really believe it's going to be contingent upon what New Hampshire does. There seems to be a renewed interest in New Hampshire of getting commuter rail up to the Manchester airport through Nashua. I think if that's successful, we would piggyback on it. Short of that, New Hampshire's commitment, we don't see it taking place because of the funding constraints with the MBTA.
Do we have one more question here? Okay, great. Everybody's into transit. So anyway, I think we're about at time, Dan. One last question. Okay, I'll ask the last question. We've had a change of leadership at the State House. What do you see in the next 4 years as far as the state being able to help you in your economic development?
Two words, Jay Ash, that the secretary. I am just so impressed with the caliber of the cabinet that Governor Baker has appointed, and that Jay Ash is someone that I've worked with on the MAPC board. He was our president. I know a lot of the communities have done that. Great advocate for the needs of cities and towns, and we had a great ride with Greg Bielecki as the secretary for the last few years, and we're looking forward to continuing to make some progress, not only with Jay, but also with Stephanie Pollock at Transportation, who is someone that is known to many of us, and it's very talented people who are thoughtful and articulate and are going to be, and we're already seeing all the right moves, I think, from the administration of working with cities and towns.
I would agree. I think we're hopeful, and certainly what they're telling us is positive. They did just release additional, or at least the governor's budget did release additional funds to towns, which was meaningful to us. Hopefully that will stay. So I'm hopeful that the things that Deval Patrick approved, say the $1.5 million environmental bond for 12 North Main, will still be supported, but I'm looking forward to the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think we're optimistic. I think it's going to come back to the issue of transportation in terms of economic development. Clearly, the MBTA is a significant challenge faced by the governor. I think it also presents us out here with an opportunity, because whatever the solution to the MBTA is, it can't just be the only transportation solution in the Commonwealth, because it's not going to be well received, west of Worcester certainly, and probably even west of 495. So whatever comes up in terms of investment by the Commonwealth in the MBTA's problems, I think provides us with an opportunity to say, okay, what else are you doing for transportation across the economic areas of the Commonwealth that need assistance? And I think that's what we need to be preparing ourselves with, because the MBTA task is daunting, but let's not believe that you're going to get support for an issue that only supports the greater Boston area, or certainly the 128 and maybe 495 area. We need to be poised out here to say, identify our needs, get the ask ready, because it really needs to be a statewide transportation initiative.
That's great. Thank you, panelists. Thank you very much. I hope you've learned a little bit more about these communities today, and I hope you have an appreciation for how difficult their jobs are, just by the depth and breadth of things that they're dealing with daily, besides dealing with pesky reporters. So, is that correct?
No.
So anyway, a round of applause for everybody. Thank you.
We enjoy our pesky reporters, and thank you very much for moderating this morning, Tom. If you're enjoying this conversation, there's another opportunity to participate in another town manager meet and greet this evening, 4:30 till 6:30 at the Bahama Breeze. The brand new town administrator for Tingsboro will be visiting with folks tonight. Additionally, you heard Barry Bluestone's name and EdSat a couple of different times. This coming November 10th, our annual meeting, we will be welcoming Barry Bluestone as our keynote speaker at that address, and he'll have some numbers in hand at that time where maybe we can have a preview of what Westford's looking like as compared to our peers. So we're really looking forward to that. Again, thank you very much to Paul Cohen, to Jody Ross, and to Keith Bergman as well for their morning this morning, the early wake-up call. Really is greatly appreciated, and to you all for making this a successful event. That's the bell. Have a great day.
I'm delighted to see everyone here. This Westford Business Association is a great group, and it was good to hear from Littleton and Chelmsford in addition to Westford on what's happening in each town.
I thought it was a really good event today, having the town managers from Chelmsford, Westford, and Littleton all together, sort of the 110 corridor, and sharing their thoughts on what was going on. There's a lot going on economic development-wise in all the communities, so I think it's important for people to know that.
We went through some rough years from 2008, but as you saw today, there is development in all three towns, and we're very concerned with transportation, but we're taking steps to move that forward too, and we're excited about the new administration. So I think we're very optimistic for the future.